Hello and assalamu alaikum. This is the first video of my series, Innovator Founder Visa. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Hiramjit, and I have recently switched from PSW to the Innovator Founder Visa, which is valid for 3 years and can directly lead to ILR given certain conditions. I'm going to talk about those conditions in the series as well. So, yeah. So ever since I posted that video, I've been getting a lot of messages about the Innovator Founder Visa. What is it? Who can get it? And what are the details, the process, everything. So I thought maybe, and unfortunately, I cannot reply to all the messages because honestly, there are too many. So I thought I'll just come up here and make a complete series and then continue the series. And I'll tell you the reason why, to kind of give you as much information as I can based on my experience. Just a disclaimer, I am not an immigration lawyer or a consultant. Whatever I've learned through my experience for on this visa, whatever details that I've gathered, because it took me around 10 months to actually get this visa. So, I did my research. I've spent a lot of nights and days working on this visa. So, I mean, whatever information I have gathered in these 10 months, I'm going to give out in the form of these series. By the same time, one of the key elements of this visa is funding, because a lot of the times we get, I mean, I'm in the same boat, honestly speaking. So the other purpose of this whole series is that once you get your visa, which again is a hard thing, but after, I think, the visa is the actual journey that begins, and you require a lot of funding. So right now, I and my team, we are working on our research, but at the same time we are also working towards finding appropriate funding for our venture and startup, and that in itself is I think a huge thing, and I really want to document this entire journey, and whatever opportunities that I come across, even if they're not relevant to me, they might be relevant to somebody else, because fundings are dependent on nature of your startup. So I'm going to talk about my startup as well. So I thought I'll just completely, put every information, every detail out there in these series. So make sure if you are interested in knowing about this visa, or if your PSW is expiring in about 4 to 6 months and you want to go with this visa and you want to learn about the whole journey and things which otherwise you might have to pay for if you go to a consultant, then I would suggest that you subscribe to the channel and get notified every time I put up a new video. All right, so let's start with what is the Innovator Founder Visa and who is it for? The short answer for what is this visa is, it is for entrepreneurs who want to set up a new business in the UK. Now, you could be in the UK at the time of applying, or you could be somewhere else in the world, and you still can apply for this visa. However, there are certain and slight differences when you're applying from outside of the UK versus when you're applying from inside of the UK in terms of payments and the process. So I think I might just go into detail, in more detail, about when you're applying from within the UK than outside, because I don't know. We'll see about that. So basically, this visa is for, as I mentioned, is for anybody who wants to set up a new business in the UK. So if you are on a student visa, you are on a PSW, you're on any visa in the UK except for visitor visa, or I think some temporary short-term types visa. Otherwise, you are eligible to apply for this visa. Even if you are dependent of somebody who is on these visas, you can still apply for this visa. Now, when it comes to setting up a new business, it might sound very simple. But it's not. You cannot simply open a cafe or a coffee shop, or maybe open like a recruitment agency or a marketing agency, or just put AI into maybe an app and be like, okay, this is a new business in the UK. No, it's not that simple. Your business has to fulfill 3 mandatory requirements. Before I talk about those requirements, think of it as something that your business has to be something either completely new for the UK market, but there has to be a demand for it. So you cannot simply start a business that you might have maybe done in your home country, or you've seen somebody do in other part of the world, and it might be very successful. They have a really and you have the complete blueprint of that business. But if there's no demand for that thing or service in the UK, that business is not, it doesn't come under the category of a new business, from my understanding. And when I was applying for this visa, and obviously I took my time to understand the conditions and everything, what I realized was that either it has to be something which is completely new. Now, when I went to one of the lawyers, for this whole process, I remember they told me that, okay, so there was a laptop on the table, and they went like, if you put like a colored strip on this laptop, it becomes a new thing. And in my head, I thought, oh, is it that easy? I mean, but when I actually got into it, I realized it's not. So you cannot simply bring any sort of minor innovation and be like, okay, this is new. So you have to have a business idea that is solving a problem in the UK. But at the same time, you can also work on an existing solution, but in a more efficient way. All right, so let's discuss the 3 mandatory requirements that your business has to have to get a successful endorsement. First is innovation, the second is viability, and the third is scalability. When it comes to innovation, I think I explained it in much detail that what does exactly innovation mean. It can be something really simple, but at the same time it can be something very complex. It all depends on your business idea. And honestly speaking, means if you tell me a business idea, I might think it's innovative, but maybe somebody else might think it's not. Because when I was applying for this visa, my initial business plan was very different to what it is now. And I remember that I told that business to a lot of people, and some of them were like, oh, this is really brilliant, this is actually innovative. But now when I think of it, it wasn't. It was really bad actually. So I then changed the business plan, and I found, met my co-founder, and things changed for us. So I would suggest that do not rush into it. Please give yourself some time, at least a few months, to brainstorm your business, brainstorm the idea. You can actually work on an existing business idea, I mean, and still think of something innovative in that business, plan or whatever idea that you have. And also, like, a lot of people confuse and misunderstand this whole concept that if you put AI into something, it automatically becomes innovative. It doesn't. I know a lot of people whose ideas were rejected simply because they were just developing an app and putting AI into it, and their ideas were literally like rejected. So I mean, you need to make sure that if it's related to AI, maybe you're doing something, maybe you're creating a platform or something, I don't know, but you need to do something on your own. You cannot simply rely on AI and be like, okay, this is because I'm doing something with AI. So maybe you're solving an issue with an AI, but the AI that you're using is not your own. You're using ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever. So I mean, that is not your innovation. The second mandatory requirement is viability. So when it comes to viability, they actually want to see that, is your business plan even realistic? Can you achieve it? You as a founder, do you have the means and the skills and the team to actually take it from the initial stage to maybe like a big company or a startup or whatever? So when it comes to viability, you need to show them a complete financial plan, that this is what my revenues, my profits, my expenses are going to look like in 3 years of time. So you give them a complete detailed financial plan that explicitly states everything, from even spending on your R&D to renting out a place to maybe giving salaries to generating jobs and all of that. So that all comes under a viability part. So that is one of the, second of the three mandatory requirements. The third is scalability. Now they also want to see that your business can scale beyond UK. It should not just be limited to the UK. That is, I think, also a very important part of setting up a business, because at the end of the day, they also want entrepreneurs who are actually going to, work on UK's economy. So if your business is not doing anything, I mean, chances are that they might not see your business as like, a scalable business or a viable business. A lot of the times people only focus on the innovation because everybody thinks that innovation is the hard part. Yes, it is the hard part, but I've seen so many people getting rejections for their endorsement based on the fact that their viability and scalability parts were weak, or they were not able to explain that to the endorsing body. So please make sure that if you are looking into your making your business plan, you do focus on all these three things, because they carry equal weightage. Now so this is the part where we talk about who is this visa for. So as I mentioned, that if you're on a student visa, you can directly switch to this visa. But I think two of the major changes that came in November last year, and also were part of the reason why I also switched to this visa, were that the government announced that now students can directly switch to this visa. Because before, I think November last year, you either had to switch to a PSW and then apply for this visa, or you had to go back to your home country and then apply from there. So there was no way that you could directly switch from student visa to this visa. And what it did was that I think it made the innovation part slightly hard, because now they were looking into, I don't know, like I personally believe that the competition got really high, but at the same time it made things slightly easier, because people always, I mean, when I was applying for this visa and I was thinking about it, even though I was on a PSW, I was asking people around, what is the process like, how do you define innovation and all of that. And I remember a lot of people told me that you need to have a prototype, to actually apply for this visa. And I was like, you know what, I mean, making a prototype is not that easy. You need money, you need funding. If you're spending so much time and energy on R&D, I don't know, I mean, for me it was really hard. But then I also thought about the fact that if they've allowed students to switch from student visa to to the innovative founder visa, there's no way that a student who is studying in the UK or masters, they're working part-time jobs or whatever to pay off their fees and whatever, there's no way they'll be working on a business plan and would be creating a prototype to actually get the endorsement. So I mean, yes, if you have prototype, you should definitely, you have higher chances, but it doesn't mean that you cannot apply for endorsement without a prototype. I did not have any prototype, because when I actually researched on this visa and I came to know about the changes that were coming in November, my immediate thought was like, you know what, if they've allowed students to switch directly from student visa to PSW to the innovative founder visa, that means they would be giving you that kind of an edge, where if you even apply with a proof of concept, a solid proof of concept, you can get endorsement. And I am a living proof of that. I did not have any prototype, because I'd spent so much time on the R&D, and I'd only worked on kind of putting my proof of concept to a stage where now I can, easily scale it to, from proof of concept to maybe like, a pilot or a pilot stage probably. Yeah. So I mean, yes, this is also a misconception that you cannot apply for endorsement without having a prototype. The second major change that came in, and I think that was a huge relief for me. Before November last year, there was a mandatory requirement that you had to spend £50,000 into your business. So I mean, in terms of investment, it didn't mean that you had to have cash in hand or whatever. I'll talk about the business plan and discuss how and what sort of financial sources you can show. But it was a mandatory requirement that you had to invest 50,000 or show that you have 50,000, either your own money or through any investor or long-term or short-term debts, but you had to show that you had £50,000 to invest in your business. However, in November, this condition was off, so now there's no more requirement for you to have 50,000 to invest in the business. However, there's a catch. So when I was applying for this visa and I was researching and talking to people who were already on this visa or who recently applied, or the consultant or whatever, I came to know that even though yes, there is no requirement for you to invest 50,000, but they also told me that the people that I talked to, that think of your business as, I mean, if you're starting a business, there's no way you can start it without any investment. You need money, right? And also you need to show some sort of investment to the endorsement body, because they want to see if you have skin in the game. And how can you show it if you do not have any money? You cannot simply say that, oh, I'll apply for the funding and grant. What if you don't get it? You cannot simply show future funding or contracts unless they're like really solid contracts. You've gotten a funding or a grant already, and it's a completely different scenario. But I mean, just on the basis of the fact that you applied for a funding or you will apply for a funding, you'll maybe like sell your property or whatever. It won't work like that. You need to have a solid plan in terms of financials. So yes, the 50,000 requirement is off, but you still have to show some sort of investment in terms of, I mean, you need to see that what is the amount of investment that your startup requires for it to actually survive for a year, because you won't be making any money, you won't be taking any salaries. So I mean, these are the things that played a huge role in making me push towards innovative founder visa. I think one of the reasons, and yeah, I think third reason that I went for this visa was that, I mean, in a skilled worker visa, you have a boss. In this visa, you are the boss yourself. But it doesn't mean that you won't be working. You'll be working every day on your own business. But it also gives you this peace of mind that if you work towards one thing for one whole year, you will be at a point where you can show some sort of progress. And that is exactly what this visa is about. There are mandatory checkpoints, so every 12 months and then 24 months you have meetings with your endorsement body, the same endorsement body who gave you the endorsement letter, and you kind of show them the progress, that this is what I've done, and they check your progress against your endorsement, against your business plan that you proposed initially. From what I've heard is that the first checkpoint is slightly easy, because I mean, they also know that you can't really be doing a lot in 1 year, and then there's so many things at play. There's economic instability, you might have some financial issues or family issues, whatever, so they do give you that edge. But the second checkpoint is really hard. This is what I've heard. I've not experienced it, so I can't say much. At the same time, the skilled worker visa has certain requirements and certain restrictions. This visa doesn't. So I mean, being on this visa, you can work part-time, full-time, whatever. So you can take any employment, you can have multiple businesses. The only requirement is that if you're taking a secondary employment, unlike the skilled worker visa where it has to be in the same field that you have the endorsement of the skilled worker visa for, here you can do anything. It only has to be above RFQ level 3. Those of you who don't know, please google it, that what is RFQ level 3 kind of jobs. So I mean, jobs like retail assistant, receptionist, or whatever, they don't count as RFQ level 3, so they're below RFQ level 3. But anything above RFQ level 3 is what you can work for, as many hours as possible you want to. But yes, you need to prove it to them that you were working on your business as well. So I mean, don't take this visa as something maybe like, okay, I'll have 3 years in the UK. No, and if you don't show any progress in your business, then you won't have, because if endorsing body can give you the endorsement letter, they can take it back as well. All right, so before I wrap up this video, I'm going to talk about the endorsement bodies in more detail in the next part. But for this part, just know that there are 4 endorsement bodies. I only know of 3, because the 4th one is, I don't know, I've never seen anybody, I've not heard anybody apply to that endorsement body, and I've heard that they only take, I don't know, I don't know honestly what the process is like. So I'm only going to talk about the 3 endorsement bodies that I know of, and those are the government approved endorsement bodies. So it's Innovator International, Investors, and UKES. UKES is the endorsement body that I went with. It's really important that you know your endorsement bodies, you know which endorsement body to go with. I know a lot of people who were simply rejected because their idea did not kind of go with the endorsement body that they applied for, because people think that, oh, this endorsement body is easier to apply with. It doesn't work like that. I mean, even though it shouldn't matter, to be very honest, but from what I've heard and what I've seen is that maybe like one endorsing body is more tech friendly, so if you apply there with a non-tech idea, chances are they might reject you. I'm not sure what the reason might be. I might be completely wrong, so please, whatever information I'm giving out is based on my personal experiences and opinions. So yes, do your own research as well. So yes, we're going to talk about the endorsement bodies in detail, the endorsement process, how long does it take, and lastly, I think that if you're on a student visa, you have a better chance at this visa. The reason is that when you're working on your thesis or dissertation or whatever, and you think that your thesis or dissertation has the potential to become like a completely a very innovative kind of a business model, it might lack in a few things, but I think during that stage, when you're in your master's and you have the support of your professors and your supervisors, I think you can better translate your thesis into a full-fledged business model. So if you are a student on a if you're a student in the UK and you are working on a thesis or dissertation and you think it has the potential, please go for it. Talk to your professors, can also help you polish your idea into like a business. So I mean, yes, I didn't have that chance because back when I was doing my master's, I did not even know about this visa. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know anything about it, honestly. So yeah, and I'll see you next video.